Okay, I have 10 great cover songs which are better than the original, some are, or just as good as. Now, before I get into this, please don't forget to hit the like button, comment on this video, share this video, and if you still haven't, please subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell for updates. Okay, so with that out of the way, I've narrowed down 10 songs that I feel are really great cover songs, perhaps better than the original, or just as good as now in rock and roll. And I will first, tell you the original artist and the song title, and then I will reveal the cover version. And starting off at number 10 is a song called Bad Company from the band Bad Company, which was released on their debut album, Bad Company, I guess. And early 70s, 71, 72, something like that. However, the cover version, which was released in the year 2010 from Las Vegas metal band Five Finger Death Punch, and this is their second album, War is the Answer. They did a cover of this song, Bad Company. Now, they pretty much have done a lot of different other covers, some really great covers of songs like Gone Away from Offspring, which I felt was better as well. That was a slower version with dark piano, and they also have done Mama Said Knock You Out by LL Cool J. However, this one was the one that really grabbed my attention, because by the time I heard this in 2010, there wasn't hardly bands that were popular at that time, harping back all the way to the 70s and covering songs and that were popular. And by the time I heard this song from them, I was like, that song is familiar because it's been so long since you've heard it, right? And so it was really refreshing, and I just kept on listening to their version of it. And then it just pretty much literally erased Bad Company from my memory banks. Even though it is a great song, it's a great version. Paul Rogers has an amazing voice, but I was really excited about this band and listening to their albums, of course, which followed American Capitalist, right? But that's my number 10, Five Finger Death Punch and Bad Company. Now, coming in at number 9, the song is called Landslide, and it was released in 1975 from Fleetwood Mac, and it was their debut album with the new lineup of Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham. Stevie Nicks did the lyrics, and she sang the song. Now, it was covered in 1994 by Chicago-based band Smashing Pumpkins, and you could find it in this album of rarities and B-sides called Pisces Iscariot. So this is the album. This is just like a, odds and ends kind of album. However, this is the one that came out before their mega concept album, Melancholy and Infinite Sadness. So this is like a precursor of other great things to happen. They already did, Siamese Dream, and Landslide was a B-side to the song Disarm. Now, the thing that grabbed me about this song, because, as a fellow Gen Xer, when this came out, I was like 24. So he is a Gen X artist, and he was born around our time. So he's really kind of like, I felt, singing to us as saying, remember this song when we were little, and there were some good things in while we were growing up in the 70s as children, and this being the soundtrack of that, and him doing the song, it was just really kind of nostalgic. And that was one thing about the 90s, it was very nostalgic towards the 70s. So you'd have movies that are always, the period is always the 70s, like Dazed and Confused or Boogie Nights. There was just so much of the 70s stuff coming out, and then you had Nirvana also doing The Man Who Sold the World, right? The David Bowie song on his Live and Unplugged. However, that's a live album. But this is studio stuff we're talking about. However, yeah, there was this whole kind of thing about the '70s, and so he really hit the mark with that. And Stevie Nicks actually became really good friends with Billy because of their version. So that is my number 9, right? Smashing Pumpkins, and a lot of people don't like it. I do. That's all that matters. Okay, so number 8, another '70s song, early '70s song called Cross-Eyed Mary, and the band is called Jethro Tull, Ian Anderson, right? And in this album, Aqualung, which was a famous song, of course, is the song Cross-Eyed Mary, which is about a schoolgirl prostitute. And it was covered in the early 80s by new wave of British heavy metal band Iron Maiden. Now, Bruce's voice on here is very operatic, and of course, the Bruce, that's why we love Bruce. However, Ian Anderson didn't really care much for it, but I did. And it's on a B-side of The Trooper, which was the lead-in single. And at the time, this is the only place, this is the only record that you could find that song, Cross-Eyed Mary. But of course, since that time, they have put it on compilations like Flight 666, it's on that one, and there's a couple of other ones, but it is a great song. I love their version of it, so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Cross-Eyed Mary. Now, coming in at number 7 is a song written and performed at first by Bob Dylan, and it's called Knocking on Heaven's Door. Now, this song has been covered by not just the band Guns N' Roses, which I chose in their 1991 album, Use Your Illusion 2, because there was 2 albums they released that year, Use Your Illusion 1 and this is 2. But other artists like, of course, Eric Clapton did a version of it, but it was kind of like this reggae thing, had a reggae feel to it, but this is, to me, the version which brought this little song. And Bob Dylan is great at writing songs, but there's just other artists that take his songs and just take it to the finish line. And this version first appeared that I heard was in 1987, 88 with the Appetite for Destruction tour. They were on an MTV broadcast for Live at the Ritz. There was 2 broadcasts. There was a 60-minute one and there was a 90-minute one. If you caught the 90-minute version of this broadcast, then you would hear Knocking on Heaven's Door. And that live version was a B-side to Welcome to the Jungle on a 12-inch. Then they released a studio version of it for the film Days of Thunder, starring Tom Cruise. Now, they condensed that version and put it on this soundtrack, and this is the Guns N' Roses with the big drum sound of Matt Sorum, the great anthemic leads of Slash. Saw them perform this opening up for the Rolling Stones on the Steel Wheels tour. They had 6 nights with them at the LA Coliseum, and they had that whole crowd singing Knock Knock Knocking on Heaven's Door. Very powerful. Guns N' Roses, they really killed it with the Bob Dylan song. Okay, now moving into number 6, and this song is from a Canadian band called The Guess Who, and the song is American Woman. And in 1999, rock star Lenny Kravitz, who seems like he just came out of a time capsule of the 70s, covered the song for this soundtrack, Austin Powers' The Spy Who Shagged Me. And his version is really cool and fresh for that time, and still is. He said he had a difficult time with trying to find the tone of the guitar parts because he didn't put them in the album, in the song, and he was telling that to the guys of the Guess Who. However, when he plays it live, him and Craig Ross kind of did find it, so they rock it out all the time. It's really cool. Now this album, there's a lot of great artists on here. One of them, one lead-in single other than The American Woman was Beautiful Stranger by Madonna, who, of course, did a cover song of a 70s song as well, was American Pie. Or American Pie, not American, is that, yeah. I think that was a song with Don McLean, who sang it, and her version was horrible. However, that's what I was saying. Everyone's doing the nostalgic thing of the 70s at the time. So, moving on to number 5, we're halfway there. This song, Hard to Handle, was recorded and written by Otis Redding, the late great Otis Redding, but then covered by this band, the Black Crowes, for their debut album in 1989, Shake Your Money Maker. They already had so many hits on this album prior to that song being released. They had Jealous Again, She Talks to Angels, Twice as Hard, and they just put that song out and it was done. I mean, it was like they're a household name. They still play this song today live. You know, they did release a EP of cover songs 2 years ago called 1972, where they covered songs that came out in 1972. Whether it was the Stones and David Bowie, T-Rex, however, none of those covers match up to this, Hard to Handle, from their debut album. And so that is my number 5. And moving into number 4, this is another 70s song from a band called Slade. And the song was pretty big in the UK, of course, not in America. And the song was called Come On Feel the Noise, and it was covered by LA band Quiet Riot for the Metal Health album, and this put LA metal on the map. And this kicked down the doors for bands like Motley Crue and Poison and the whole, that whole movement. And it started off with Quiet Riot. This was a top 10 song, and I remember getting this in 1982, and I was just like, wow. It was a new thing. It was this kind of this hard rock. And this band, used to have Randy Rhoads in it, and he just, of course, was recruited by Ozzy for his Blizzard of Oz album and the other album, Diary of a Madman. So they carried on with this guitarist Carlos Cavasso, and here you go. We're still here, and Quiet Riot is still the shit, this song. They also did another Slade song for their next album, Mama We're All Crazy Now. They covered that, thinking they could, see if lightning strikes twice, but no, it didn't really pan out as well. But this is still a vinyl album, vinyl record channel, so this is a sea glass with white swirl vinyl. So I got this at Walmart. Gotta have that variant, right? So that is number 4. Now moving on to number 3 is a folk song that was written in the early 60s from a woman named Anne Brendan, and she's a folk singer, and then it was covered by another folk singer named Joan Baez, and then it was covered by Led Zeppelin, and the song is Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, which Led Zeppelin recorded for their first debut album, Led Zeppelin, Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. Now this song does not sound remotely like those other two. Those other two versions are pretty much unlistenable, and we're in the top 3 where these songs are just no doubt better than the originals, okay? And if you've seen the film Becoming Led Zeppelin, which was a documentary they released in theaters in February, I had a review on that film. They talk about this song in full detail, because it was a song that Jimmy Page showed Robert Plant when Robert Plant first came to him at his house, and they were listening to records, and Jimmy Page put on Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You by Joan Baez, but he said, I have my own arrangement. Want to hear it? And then the rest is history. Okay, so Led Zeppelin's first album, Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. Now, I do have some other notable mentions that didn't make it, but I thought I'd just share it with you guys before hitting the last two. Okay, so one of them is Pat Benatar with "You Better Run," which was a song that was covered by, where she covered from the Young Rascals, who did the song "Groovin'." However, her version has a lot more bite and a lot more attitude. And another song, Soft Cell's "Tainted Love." This came out in 1981. It's a synth pop kind of song, duo from England, but they covered this soul song from an artist named Gloria Jones, who she tried recording it twice. She did one in 64, 65, and then she did one in later on in the 70s, I believe, or early 80s too. But the Soft Cell version is the signature version, and it's the one that you want. Okay, now going back and to our top 10, and I'm up to number 2, and this is another song written by Bob Dylan, and the song is called "All Along the Watchtower," which was released and recorded on the Electric Ladyland album from the Jimi Hendrix Experience. And this is, to me, Jimmy was a big fan of Bob's lyrics. So the lyrics are still intact in his vocal melody. However, everything else, like the guitar solos, the guitar leads before the verses, and everything else, the slide, guitar and all this stuff, it's just incredible. It's just like, it is his own song, and even Bob Dylan said that, because on a meeting in passing, Jimmy said, "Oh, thank you for the song, All Along the Watchtower," and Bob said, "Nah, it's your song," because it is. So, All Along the Watchtower is number 2, which brings us to our number 1, and this song was originally written by and recorded by none other than Otis Redding again, who, of course, we had on number 5 with the Black Crowes with "Hard to Handle." But of course, they did, or he released a song, "Respect," which was, of course, covered by Aretha Franklin. And this version, of course, just blows away Otis's version. I mean, she added a lot more things to it. She added like the horn section, and she added the sax solo. She added the background vocals with the 3 background singer, the girls, and she added some lines in there, the spelling of respect and take care, TCB, so taking care of business, and she added all that kind of stuff to it. And yeah, it's pretty much her own song. And of course, she has the Muscle Shoals rhythm section backing her up, right? And Stax, and you think of these guys have recorded great albums, whether it was Mavis Staples or Rolling Stones. They helped out there, and so Respect has become this song where everyone tried to have ownership over it, like the feminist movement, and they're like, oh, it's about equality and all this stuff, and everyone's kind of just taking this song and trying to use it for their movement, when Otis Redding and Aretha Franklin said, hey, it's just about, let's just treat people good. That's all it is. It has nothing to do with all these other movements, right? It's just like, yeah, just treat people with respect, right? And that goes a long way. It goes beyond all this other political stuff that, that's what a great song is. It's where, baby, it can be used and adopted for all these movements. However, it's universal love, or respect. That goes beyond all these kind of movements. It's in the movement in itself. So Respect is number 1. And so, and the album was I Never Loved a Man the Way I Loved You, and it's the first track. And if you don't have this, you better get it, because it's worthy of having in your collection. So that is my top 10. great cover songs or just as good as. Of course, there's some other ones out there. Leave me a comment below if you have a great cover song that is your favorite that wasn't on my top 10. And with that, I'll shut up and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.